Among the generations of women in my family, there are stories that the older women tell. Now, they don't do it often. These aren't stories to be told in dinner tables or mentioned briefly in moments of passing. These stories are prompted by moments of silence and told in voices heavy with remembering. Stories of their youth, memories of another place and time. And when they share these memories with me, I can almost never tell what they're feeling. Nostalgia, regret, resentment. It both fascinates me and saddens me, to tell the truth. And sometimes I try and imagine what it might have been like, painting a mental picture in my head. I imagine the countryside and the farm where they were raised. I imagine the lives of these sisters as if I were living it myself. Sophia, it's because I love you. I've loved you since the moment you were born. I remember holding you in my arms when you were a baby, when you were still in diapers. It would take hours of singing and rocking just to get you to close your eyes. And even then, you'd wake up screaming and crying if you weren't sleeping right next to me. Out of all of our sisters, you are the sweetest. And I see so much potential in the young woman that you'll become. Which is why I have to tell you. You can't marry him, Sophia. You are 14. You are just a child who thinks she's in love but hasn't seen enough of the world to know what that's really like. Your life has barely just begun, and you're going to throw it away? I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you upset. Marriage can be a wonderful thing, but here in the village, it means something different. A life I don't think you deserve. Look at Mama. Look at me. Mama has been pregnant almost every year of my life. First me in 1930, and then came Emilia, and then Anna, and then Rosa, and then Fatima, and then on, and now I'm 23. And Mama has 15 children. Don't you think she's tired? So many mouths to feed, sometimes there wasn't enough to go around. And when she had a newborn, somebody else had to step up and shoulder that burden. Look, as the eldest sister, taking care of you and the rest of my younger sisters has been my responsibility for as long as I can remember. I've cooked and cleaned and mothered when I was still just a child myself. And I love my family with all my heart. But sometimes I look at you and the rest of our sisters and I can't help but wonder, could my life have been different? I got taken out of school when I was just a bit younger than you know. Mama needed help at home, and schools here only offered education up until the 4th grade. The ones that did were too far away. I remember being so heartbroken when Mama told me I had to stay home. I cried so much that day. I felt like I'd lost something important, and at that age, I couldn't name it. I couldn't name what it was, but I knew. And suddenly I found myself in the kitchen instead of the classroom, and changing diapers instead of learning math problems, and I never told anyone this. But I loved working with numbers. I still do. They just made sense to me on the paper, like pieces of a puzzle that I could just fit together. I couldn't wait to see what the next problem was. I couldn't wait to see what I could do. But I guess I'll never know. But I was better off than some of the other girls that I knew. Young girls like you, who ran away and married young, didn't know what they were giving up, the life that they were giving up, Sophia. In a marriage, a woman has certain responsibilities, not just to her children, but to her husband. Men, they have needs, and a woman, a wife, is expected to satisfy them. They say if God wants a woman to have children, then we just have to let it happen. We birth until we can't conceive, like animals. And if it were up to our husbands or our church, we'd have children hasta que Dios manda, as long as God wills it. And that's exactly what will happen. Sophia, hermanita, look at me. I don't want to scare you, but I'm trying to make you realize the reality of the way things are here. I am a woman too. Don't you think I want to marry a man that loves me? Don't you think I want to have a family, to raise kids of my own? But I know what it's like to shoulder a responsibility that isn't mine. And I don't want my children to be left wanting for anything. I want them to have choices. And that is all I want for you. I wasn't going to tell you this just yet, but Elena is going to university in Quito. She's staying with a cousin, and I think you should go with her. There are better schools out there, and now that our family can afford it, I'm sure Mama would agree. Go, Sophia. Go and learn and make something of yourself. Become the young woman that I know you can be. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. And you have such a big heart with so much love to give. I can only ask you to reconsider. If not for you, hermanita, and for me. Eventually, the imaginations of the past are interrupted by thoughts of the present. And I realize that I'm living the life that my ancestors struggled for in their own ways. So instead of focusing on the possible pain or regret of those memories, those stories that they told me, instead I choose to focus on the sisterhood and the fortitude it took for them to get me to this point. And I can only hope to take us further.